What's up, guys? Today we're going to be questing for comics, and what better way to start off this whole deal than ba-dow! Excalibur by Tini Howard and Marcus Toe, with colorist Arcianega. I don't know his first name. Sorry. Anyway, guys, I really want to talk about this comic, so just beware. There will be some spoilers. I'm going to be talking about the events that happen through issues 1 through 6, as well as showing some panels. I essentially want to make this entertaining. I know that sometimes spoilers, ooh, spooky, but guys, I'm just going to encourage you to check this shit out, man. I think the one thing that's different between like book readers and comic book readers is that comic book readers don't give a shit. They just want to hear the goods. They spoil away. So that's what I'm going to be doing, all right? All right. Okay, so when Excalibur kicks off, it starts out in Otherworld. If you don't know what Otherworld is, that's okay. It's just another dimension where Avalon and Camelot and things like this exist. This is a place that really ties in for Marvel, especially within the Excalibur comics, as well as Captain Britain. So when we're starting out, we see that Morgan Le Fay is basically running shit in Camelot. We see that King Arthur, has gone missing. He's nowhere to be found, and Morgan Le Fay is essentially swooped through, taking control of things, and now her ass is under attack. So we could see that she's getting a warm welcome, literally. They're launching fireballs at her fucking castle. But this is kind of like the least of her worries. We see that Morgan Le Fay takes one of her knights down to her scrying pool to do a little interrogation. You would think that the fucking forces outside her walls would be something to cause concern, but no. She's worried about these mysterious flowers that are popping up in her pool. She even takes the poor soldier's fucking face and just gives him a swirly in the goddamn pool, like, hey, what the fuck are these flowers, and what are they doing here? And the poor guy's like, I don't know. So basically, right out the gate, we're starting to understand that Morgan Le Fay is a bitch, and she's in control, and she's very concerned with these flowers. Now that we've read Hoxpox, we kind of understand what these flowers might be. Then we cut over to Betsy Braddock. And now Betsy Braddock, guys, might be a little confusing for you as well, because most of you might know Betsy Braddock as Psylocke, but not just that. You know her as Psylocke within Quanen's body. I know, right? It's already getting confusing. But here in Excalibur issue 1, Betsy Braddock is in her own original body. And we see her with her family, at the Braddock family home, and she's talking with her twin brother, Brian, and his wife, and she's getting ready to leave home to go to Krakoa. Because remember, Krakoa is now a place where mutants can be free. It is a safe haven. So basically, mutants from all across the world are starting to flock towards Krakoa, and we're watching Betsy Braddock leave her family home to go live amongst the mutants. And when she gets there, it's a party. And that's kind of interesting to see, honestly, because we're very used to seeing mutants being persecuted, on the run, just, you know, in harm's way all the time. Shit, even Xavier's school's getting blown up once every arc. So, you know, shit is usually bad. So it's kind of cool to see them in a safe place where they can fucking dance and be free. Then we pick up with Apocalypse, and we start to see that he's living on Krakoa as well. Because remember, guys, good and bad are living in harmony here on Krakoa. So Apocalypse is up to something. And as an old school X-Men reader, I don't trust him one bit. And he's fucking around with these gates, these Krakoa gates. Essentially, there's a gateway on Krakoa that leads to Otherworld, but it's not open on his end. And he seems to be taking an interest in this. And at the same time, in our own world, we're getting to learn about a coven that is, a coven exists. And they're somehow tied to Morgan Le Fay. And Morgan Le Fay calls them from Otherworld and basically lets them know, like, I'm not happy about these flowers in my pool. I'm taking your fucking magic away until this whole situation gets figured out. Then we jump back to Krakoa, and we're seeing Betsy Braddock, and she's meeting people, she's seeing old friends like Jubilee. And then she runs into another mutant, one that is part of the Five, and these mutants are known for resurrecting people when they die. This is a whole lot of shit that gets covered in Hoxpox. But anyway, Betsy Braddock runs into Egg, and he's like, hey, can you come with me for a minute? I need you in the hatchery. Now, the hatchery is where they have all these eggs where they use to resurrect mutants after they die. So Betsy gets brought to this hatchery where she discovers that her brother, Jamie Braddock, has been resurrected. Now, guys, Jamie Braddock is an extremely powerful mutant. He, from what I can remember, he is a reality warper. So essentially, he can fuck with reality. The fucking possibilities of this power are endless. And Jamie Braddock also happens to be a madman. So you have an extremely powerful fucking character who's crazy. And I just love this scene because Betsy Braddock is being brought into the hatchery by Egg, and he's just like, dude, can you get your brother out of here? Like, he's doing gross shit, and this is supposed to be a sterile environment. We need him gone. You don't need to be a fan from the past to see that Jamie Braddock and Betsy Braddock don't have the best relationship. In fact, right out the gate, we see that Betsy Braddock is kind of pissed. She doesn't even want to see her brother resurrected. And not only that, she also does not want to tell her brother, her twin, Brian Braddock, that their brother has now been resurrected. Shade. Brian takes Betsy into Otherworld because he's been called. So now they're kind of going on a mission into Otherworld, but they've been ambushed as soon as they get there. They're met by Morgan Le Fay. And Morgan Le Fay starts to kind of fuck with Brian Braddock because Brian Braddock is Captain Britain, and so essentially he is responsible. He's a defender of Otherworld, and because Morgan Le Fay is kind of controlling it right now, he is under her control. Now, back on Krakoa, Apocalypse taps Rogue to kind of deal with this whole gate situation. And we see that Gambit is pretty much the only person that's using his fucking head because he's like, I don't trust this dude. I'm with you, Gambit. I don't trust him either. Now, I do like that this mistrust between Gambit and Apocalypse is being put on the page because for those that don't know, at one point in time, Gambit was one of Apocalypse's 4 horsemen. He was Apocalypse's death. So Gambit, more than anybody, knows how this guy operates. Apocalypse is essentially trying to get Rogue to place her hands and use her power on the gate, hopefully being able to open it up, because he's, once again, we're not exactly sure what he's doing, but he's telling the crew here that he's gotten a psychic message from Betsy Braddock, and she's in distress. And this gate leads to Otherworld, so please put your bare hands on it and fucking get it juiced up, girl. Now, while this is all going down, we see that Betsy Braddock is now kind of forced into a fight with Brian because he's been brainwashed and kind of controlled by Morgan Le Fay. So you got all this shit kind of going on with the gate in Krakoa, and then Betsy Braddock and Brian Braddock in Otherworld. What happens is Betsy takes the amulet from Brian, the same amulet that he has picked that gives him the Captain Britain powers. She takes this amulet from him, as well as the same time he strikes her, and on the same time, I know there's a lot of same times, Rogue touches the gate back on Krakoa, and a lot of shit happens here. So Betsy Braddock basically teleports away out of Otherworld. Rogue gets knocked unconscious into like a sleeping beauty state, and Betsy Braddock not only was transported back home, she's also now transformed into the new Captain Britain. And this essentially wraps up our first issue. Now, this isn't a blow-for-blow breakdown, but I do want to touch on what happens from issues 2 through 6. I want to cover this volume, so to speak. So after issue 1, we will see what is basically forming as the Excalibur crew, because they're not Excalibur yet, but we will see Gambit, a comatose Rogue, Jubilee, and Betsy Braddock basically be whisked away by Kitty Pryde on a boat going in search for the Braddock Lighthouse. Now, when they find it, just getting there turns out to be kind of a task, and they get, under attack by these creatures known as Selkies. This is cool because we're starting to kind of put in the Scottish lore and everything. They get to the island, and this is also where we start to establish the Druids. People can't see them, but Betsy can. We start to kind of flesh things out to where everything's going. She's starting to be warned about this coven that's back in the real world, this coven Akaba. They are also enemies of the Druids. Another interesting thing that happens is, kind of out of fear, Jubilee has a baby, Shogo, and now she gets worried about kind of leaving the baby unattended and worried like Apocalypse Apocalypse is going to do something to him because he's actually a human, not a mutant. So she's worried about leaving Shogo back on Krakoa unattended, and maybe Apocalypse is going to do something to him. So she brings him with her. Now, something very interesting happens to little baby Shogo when he passes through the gates into Otherworld. When he passes through the gate, he no longer exists as a baby child. He's a motherfucking dragon, and this is awesome, dude. Shogo is tough as nails, but it's also really cool because when you think about it, yeah, he's a badass dragon that can get a lot done, but he's a baby, so you still gotta worry for him, you know what I mean? If this big badass dragon gets hurt, well, that's your baby that got hurt. We also see where Apocalypse taps another member that will become part of the crew, a mutant known as Richter. Now, I didn't know much about or don't remember Richter, but his power seems to be like controlling Earth or creating like earthquakes kind of. I actually do kind of like Richter quite a bit, actually. He is a gay mutant, and I didn't even know that until later on. Like, and I thought just the way that it was handled was good, though. And he is actually a former lover of Shatterstar. Once again, more stuff didn't know. Cool things about this comic. Now, eventually, our team will kind of face off with Morgan Le Fay and her forces. We see this kind of battle play out. It doesn't really go one way or the other, but Shogo does kind of swoop in and spit fire. And this is a really cool part because what ends up happening is this dragon fire kind of backfires on him, no pun intended. But what ends up doing is it opens up kind of like a breach between Otherworld and the real world, where these monsters are slipping through the cracks and kind of coming into our world. Now, this really opens up the part where we get a lot of the relationships between Betsy Braddock and everyone. We see that now that Betsy Braddock is Captain Britain, she's kind of a woman of many hats. Not only is she a mutant on Krakoa, she's now Captain Britain, so she has, like, Britain to defend as well as Otherworld. She has mutant and human relations. And this is also where we get to see Pete Wisdom kind of enter the fold as well, who is a mutant, but he's also kind of like Secret Service, so no one really knows he's a mutant. Later, we kind of find out the reason for Apocalypse kind of tapping Richter, because he sends Richter and Gambit on a mission to find these crystals that will charge these gates that Apocalypse is obsessed with. So this is where we see Gambit and Richter kind of go on this mission down into the Earth. Once again, we kind of open up more about the druids and whatnot. But what I like about this whole kind of thing that unfolds, I don't like the handling of Gambit, but I like how it pushes the story forward. Essentially, Gambit kind of bumbles his fucking way. He gets saved by Richter, but the way he gets saved by Richter is Richter has to expel or like spend the energy in this crystal that they were searching for to kind of supercharge his powers to save Gambit. So when they get back to Apocalypse, and Apocalypse finds out that Richter fucking used the juice in the crystal, he's pissed. He's like, dude, you fucking used the power in my crystal to save this piece of shit when I'm trying to open up these gates? God damn it, Richter. The part I really love about this, though, is the fact that we start to see Gambit and Apocalypse kind of arguing and going at it, because Gambit is pissed. He's pissed that his woman is still out cold, that he feels Apocalypse is playing everybody, and Apocalypse is mad that he got the juice, and they get in this fight, and Apocalypse just destroys Gambit. As much as that sucks, it's realistic. Apocalypse is a bad motherfucker. So he starches Gambit, but at the same time, we see this kind of thing playing out with Rogue, where she's in this dreamland, kind of trying to wake up, and she's being guided by like this fire dog, who we can kind of guess who it is, but the dog can't speak, so, you know, we know who it is, but either way. The dog kind of helps guide Rogue through this dreamland sequence to help her wake up. So when Rogue does wake up, she sees what's going on between Apocalypse and Gambit, because now Apocalypse has knocked Gambit out, and he's actually contemplating digging through his body to fucking find this power. Like, he's all, like, thinking, maybe I should open up Gambit and see if there's any juice left. Well, this doesn't sit well with a new, like, just recently awakened Rogue, right? We see her take the gloves off and put her hands on Apocalypse and just suck the fucking shit out of it. Dude, she drains Apocalypse till he dies, man. She absorbs all that he is. And the coolest thing about this is it leaves Rogue looking like Apocalypse. She's all like smoldering and she's got blue skin. It's fucking awesome. Now, it's not a big deal that Apocalypse has died because we know that he's being resurrected, and we will get to see that part, but then we also get to see this little thing kind of play out between Jamie Braddock and Apocalypse, and we will see how that plays out at the end of this volume. Eventually, Betsy Braddock and Brian Braddock will meet up again, and this is kind of set up with Apocalypse and Morgan Le Fay. It's kind of like each other's champions kind of fighting in a duel to see who winner take all kind of deal, okay? And this is fucking awesome once again, because we will see that Betsy Braddock does overcome the situation and defeats her brother, which is a hard thing for her to do, because it is easy to see Betsy Braddock doesn't love anybody like she loves her brother Brian. And we have to remember, Brian is not a mutant. He's a human, not going to be able to be resurrected. So this is a very heartbreaking scene where we see, to be able to overcome this battle between her and her brother, she does have to kill him. Now that the team is victorious, though, we see Morgan Le Fay imprisoned by Jamie Braddock. He puts her like in a psychic prison, and he's just like, bye, bitch. And we're also kind of getting hit, too, with the fact that Apocalypse has put Jamie Braddock in the position of as new king of fucking Avalon. And Betsy Braddock doesn't like this idea at all, but she's more concerned with her dead brother. And because she knows that Jamie has the ability to bring him back, she basically gets in this standoff with him until she does what she wants. Now, when Brian gets brought back, it's not exactly a happy ending, because what happens now, we see Betsy has the amulet. She is the Captain Britain. So Brian gets faced with a decision once again to choose between the amulet and the sword. And we know that every Captain Britain has always chosen the amulet. It's one of these things that they feel like if you choose the sword, it's like the wrong choice. But now that Brian has met with this choice again, and there is no amulet, there's only a sword to choose from. So he chooses the sword, but he goes into this very dark place of almost PTSD that he has just done something wrong, and he is not worthy of the position that he is in. And I do like this because ultimately it's just a choice. And we see somebody, Brian Braddock, making much bigger deals out of this simple choice. It's just a choice, Brian. Chill the fuck out, bruh. Then we're going to wrap this thing up with Gambit and Rogue kind of finally getting back. You know, Gambit's getting his girl back there and doing a little hot tub action. They're married now, guys. They're husband and wife, so this is to be expected. And then right before we cut out, we're getting this little bit back in Avalon where King Jamie Braddock is walking down the stairs into like this basement, and we see Apocalypse is in there operating on fucking Morgan Le Fay, opening her up, seeing what makes her tick, doing what he should. This is a sick fucker. I love it. It's a great way to end the volume because it creates a lot of intrigue. You're like, holy shit, man, this is what's going to happen in the next one. And one of the big cool potentials of this book, the Excalibur book, is really bringing that magic into the world of mutants. You know, magic is like, it's around in mutant world, but it's not like prevalent everywhere. And this story really has the potential to really bring the fucking thunderous magic. So I want to take a couple minutes and just kind of dive into why I like this book, what I think, you know, thoughts and feelings and whatnot, okay? Obviously, I really enjoy this book, otherwise I wouldn't be talking about it, guys. I really find this one to be a pleasant surprise. I was looking to be a mad, like, X-Men, New Mutants freak, you know, those starting out on issue 1 again was like music to my fucking ears. But this was that pleasant surprise. And what really blew me away was the artwork right out the gate. Marcus Toe's artwork is so fucking strong. His outlines are strong. If I want to like kind of put this in a way, because sometimes you'll get a very stylized artwork, and that's cool too, especially if you dig that style. But when it's all stripped down to its bare bones, it's not that great. Stylized outlines are not really strong outlines. They're kind of messy. In fact, half the time when you're looking at a panel, it almost looks like the colorist saved the penciler's ass. Like the penciler just mailed it in, and the poor colorist had to work all fucking night making it shine, okay? But not with Marcus Toe's work. And I'm not taking anything away from Arcianega because his color work is phenomenal. But Marcus Toe's drawings are so strong that if you took the color away, you still have a very strong image left. And I feel like that's something that's kind of dying in a very stylized era. Let's just put it that way. Marcus Toe's drawings remind me of how comics were drawn in the day, but also with a new style, you know, and some of his own put on it. So it's something that an old school fan, I think, will jump on board right away. He breaks panels in the best way. His like format and everything was just 5 stars. Honestly, it was so goddamn good that I'm going to sign up for anything this guy does. Doesn't mean I'm going to ride or die for the rest of my life. We'll see. But I guarantee you I'm jumping on board with the next thing that Marcus Toe draws up. Now moving over to the writing, Tini Howard has been beaten up pretty goddamn good, I feel like. A lot of people flock towards Jonathan Hickman, and a lot of people trash on Tini Howard. Now, I will pile on when it comes to Gambit. I think the handling of Gambit's character was done pretty poorly. This is somebody I followed very closely. You know, when I did have my hiatus, the things I did read were Gambit's solo stuff, like Zeb Wells' New Mutants shit. But all I'm trying to get at is you're talking about a guy who is very skilled, who has once been a fucking 4 horseman. But in here, he feels kind of like a buffoon. And, like, why is he even there? Rogue is the reason why Gambit is in here, you know, really. And the relationship between Gambit and Rogue is done well. And I like that he's constantly worried about her. It shows that he loves his wife. But when it comes to the action and getting shit done, like, team-wise, I don't think he's cutting the mustard at all. And it sucks. So that's where this thing kind of fell for me. But it fucking brought so much else up, okay? I didn't give a shit about Betsy Braddock before I started this. I do now. She is one of my favorite fucking Marvel characters currently. I love that she is not perfect. She's actually even selfish and kind of a bitch at times because she gets these, like tunnel vision, like puts blinders on just trying to do the job, but doesn't really understand how much she's asking of everybody else around her at times. And I just like that. I like that she's not portrayed as a perfect fucking hero. I love her relationship with her brothers, with the love she has for Brian and the fucking disdain she has for Jamie. The Braddocks in this are so well handled. In fact, that might be where some of the complaints are coming from, because so much like meat and potatoes is there with the Braddocks that it kind of makes this feel a little bit more like a Captain Britain comic and less like an Excalibur comic. Now, other characters on the team, I'll have to say I dig Jubilee and Shogo. And I'm going to be honest, guys, I've never liked Jubilee. It's like one of the only X-Men I could fucking deal without. But I liked her in this. And I loved Shogo. I think Apocalypse is being handled extremely well. Extremely well. I fucking don't trust him. I don't like him. I do like him. It's like this mixed mesh of emotions that I think one should have when dealing with such a fucking question mark of a character that is Apocalypse. And then, like, once again, Richter, a guy I don't even really know about, but yet you got me caring about him, okay? This is cool shit. You have done the unexpected. Yes, I'm disappointed in the stuff that I was expecting, but you brought it fucking through the roof with everything else. So me personally, I'm applauding Tini Howard. I'm here fucking saying I dig what you're doing. And you know, honestly, guys, I'm up to date. We're only covering this 6 issues. I'm at like fucking, where are we at? Like 20 or 22 or something like that now. I love in this comic a lot. Now, I will find problems, and it's my job to point those out. But at the same time, I think that there is kind of an unnecessary amount of criticism when it comes to Tini Howard's writing. This is good shit. Well, all right, guys. This is Questing for Comics, the first one. I mean, I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was entertaining. I know I haven't put the panels in. I'll do that in editing, and hopefully they look good. If not, I'm fucking sorry. This is just something I really need to do, okay? So this is like the spoiler version of Questing for Comics. I will have spoiler-free ones, too. For those that stuck around, fucking hit me up in these comments, guys. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. Is there something I could change to make it maybe a little bit more entertaining for you? Was this just too much of a fucking shit show for you to fucking watch? Let me know. Doesn't mean I'm gonna make the change, but I definitely will consider it. I do have ears in my head, and I try to use them to listen to you guys, okay? Okay. So keep your guys' eyes open because more comics are coming down the pipeline. I'm going to be trying to do something comics related and something book related. One video each, once a week. That kind of help break things up and keep it interesting for me. So I can kind of want to keep doing this. All right? All right. You know what time it is. Peace.